Congratulations, Katara. You're a bloodbender.
It took me years to really understand as to why Katara broke down after using bloodbending on Hama. Katara finally understood that she wasn't being mentored by Hama, she was being groomed by Hama in order to take a hold of this bending power that was unfortunately created due to Hama wanting to survive. I know a lot of people view Hama as a villain. I think she was just a tragic character who was created because of war.
And now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Only on Yapping About Nostalgia.
Sorry to frighten you. My name is Hama.
So we're gonna start off in the beginning. Hama's childhood background, just to really understand as to why she would want to groom Katara. Hama, she was just an ordinary girl living in the Southern Water Tribe region. She had a life that Katara basically had in the village. That was until the Fire Nation attacked, and they were capturing waterbenders. Now there's some theories as to why after destroying the air temples, they went to the Water Nation. My theory is, I think the Fire Nation was going to continue to eradicate all the nations until the Avatar lands into the Fire Nation. I believe if the Avatar landed in the Fire Nation, they would have tried to groom the Avatar in supporting their ideals of Fire Nation superiority. Hama, when she was captured, she was young, and in the picture it looked like she was around 17 years old, and because it was in prison camps, we can only imagine what horror she went through because it was a children's show. So if it wasn't a children's show, they would show it everyone. And I think that's when people be like, oh, I understand why she ended up the way she did.
They piped in dry air and had us suspended away from the ground. Before giving us any water, they would bind our hands and feet so we couldn't bend. Any sign of trouble was met with cruel retribution.
The bender's element is a part of their well-being. If you take away water, if you take away the land, if you trap a bender, of course they're going to be depressed. That's the main reason why the Fire Nation had these camps, and they were trying to make these elements inaccessible to these benders because they understood that the way to break them down is to not make them be around the elements. This scene always gets me when they were trying to make them drink water. They had to change them down still because they were scared that they would, fight back. She needed to escape. The only way she figured that she could escape this terror was by bloodbending, because by every full moon she realized that she would get more power by the full moon. And by using this, she was like, oh, I have more power. Let me see what I can do. What could I possibly use for my advantage in order to escape? And she saw bloodbending. And honestly, that just shows how horrific the situation she was put into. And how horrific the Fire Nation actually was to create an innocent woman or innocent child being incarcerated for years and force her to use blood in order to survive. Crazy. That's why I can never understand why bloodbending was so demonized. Bloodbending shows, and just like metal bending, shows what benders had to do in order to survive Fire Nation superiority. So she wasn't born evil, she was forced into that position. I don't believe bloodbending is necessarily evil. Obviously, all bending can be used for evil, and I don't think bloodbending in itself is evil because it's just an advanced technique of waterbending. And she was very creative to even think of using bloodbending. Honestly, Hama deserves more respect in even finding this bending technique because this is highly creative. If she wasn't put into this situation, I don't think anyone in that world would ever create this technique of bloodbending. Now, I think bloodbending could have some usefulness in the world outside of being for evil and controlling people. It could be used for medicine, it could be used for healing. I think they demonized bloodbending too quickly, and I think it was just in the nature of how Katara was introduced into bloodbending.
I can't tell you what it means to meet you. It's an honor. You're a hero.
I never thought I'd meet another Southern waterbender. I'd like to teach you what I know so you can carry on the Southern tradition when I'm gone.
Now we're gonna go into grooming versus mentorship. This is the key part as to why bloodbending got demonized. Usually with mentorship, you're following someone, they're teaching you your tricks, they want you to succeed. Grooming is when they want you to partake in certain ideals and forcing you to act a certain way. When we meet Hama, you would assume that she was going to be a good mentor for Katara, mentors that she had previously in the Northern Water Tribe. When she was able to trust Katara fully, that's when she revealed it to her and say, oh, we have a shared identity. I'm also from the Southern Water Tribe, and I'm pretty much the last waterbender before you. This shared identity really created a bond between Hama and Katara. She told Katara that, oh, since you're also a waterbender, I need to tell you everything that you need to know about the Southern Water Tribe heritage, because she's the last one. Sure, there's the Northern Water Tribe, but since they were so divided, the Northern and Southern Water Tribe, their heritage and cultural values are completely different. So of course, Katara would immediately take this opportunity and learning from someone who's like her grandma and use this for her benefit to get closer to her heritage. Now that Hama has Katara dependent on her for knowledge, she's now trying to push Katara's morals, or try to test her morals and see where she's at. So she took her to a field of flowers. She was saying, you can find water in anything, don't limit yourself, which I'm pretty sure the reason why Katara couldn't see the red flags was because she was put into a position where she was forced to use her sweat because it was so dry. So for her to say that, she was like, oh yeah, I understand. It's hard to be in an environment in which our elements cannot thrive. That's dangerous, especially when the Fire Nation is everywhere.
Growing up at the South Pole, waterbenders are totally at home surrounded by snow and ice and seas. But as you probably noticed on your travels, that isn't the case wherever you go.
Each lesson that Hama was teaching Katara was pushing her, and she was also agreeing because she could see as to why Hama had to program her mind in this way, because she was captured. She had to program her mind in seeing water in everything, and I'm pretty sure she also believed that's where her heritage came from, using any means of survival. She also was in support of this ideal because with traveling with Team Avatar, she was adapting to each environment, using anything that she could to advance her waterbending technique.
To reach inside someone and control them? I don't know if I want that kind of power.
The choice is not yours. The power exists. And it's your duty to use the gifts you've been given to win this war.
Now, this is the part where you can easily see that this was manipulation and not mentorship. So Hama created this environment to force Katara to ultimately use bloodbending. She even gave Katara a chance because she was teaching her, you need to know this. This is our means of survival. This is our only way out of the Fire Nation hands. She wanted Katara to be emotionally invested in learning the Southern Water Tribe heritage, that it would be hard for her to say no into learning bloodbending. Now, if she did this early on, I'm pretty sure Katara would have ran away immediately, but Katara was still hearing her out a little bit. Even though she was disagreeing, she could still understand what Hama went through in order for her to even discover bloodbending. And you also have to keep in mind that Hama just didn't want Katara to learn bloodbending. She also wanted Katara to understand that her vengeance is justifiable and that she must continue this legacy in order to get justice for all the other fallen waterbenders.
Katara, they tried to wipe us out, our entire culture. Your mother.
I know.
Then you should understand what I'm talking about. We're the last waterbenders of the Southern Tribe. We have to fight these people whenever we can, wherever they are, with any means necessary.
If Katara was willing to bloodbend, Hama wouldn't went to great lengths and use her own friends against her. But since she was going against this grooming mindset that she was trying to place into Katara, Hama had to go to greater lengths in order for her to understand and take part of this bloodbending legacy. Especially because she was at an old age, she didn't know if there was any other waterbenders. Since the divide between the Northern and the Southern tribe was so drastic, she didn't feel safe enough to even go to the Northern tribe and tell them about bloodbending. So Katara lost her innocence in that moment, and that is why she broke down. And also another reason is because she realized that she took upon generational trauma. Bloodbending was created by the trauma of Hama. Instead of learning about the culture, having a positive outlook of her culture, her history, and trying to pass that onto her children in the future, she was met with trauma, and that's traumatic. But Hama did not care because she felt secure and felt at ease that her legacy the Southern tribe legacy and them wanting justice will still be carried on through Katara. Now I have to ask you, was Hama actually a villain? Yes, her kidnapping, innocent is a loose term for Fire Nation citizens, because though they had a lot of propaganda in the Fire Nation, a lot of people knew what was going on. They could see that was a whole genocide going on in the whole world. So they knew they were also a part of that culture of eradicating all the other elements. But they weren't actively partaking in this genocide or partaking in this war. But they were also still part of this superiority complex that was placed by the Fire Nation. So in a sense, I can see as to why Hama thought it was a good idea to terrorize the citizens like how they terrorized her when she came out of the prison camp. I don't believe there was any other benders who was still there. I'm pretty sure they passed on just because of how horrific their living conditions were. The reason was why she didn't go back to the Southern Water Tribe is because when she got captured, it looked like the Southern Water Tribe wasn't going to make it, bender or not. Everyone was going to be eradicated because they were so concerned as to who's going to be the next Avatar. And also, the reason why she didn't go to the Northern Water Tribe, first of all, they didn't even want women to bend. Southern Water Tribe, everyone was bending. That's the difference. So for her to go to Northern Water Tribe and telling them about the bloodbending, I'm pretty sure they would also call her a witch. They would not take her seriously, or even worse, they would probably try to imprison her. There's literally nowhere in that world that was safe enough for Hama to come out of prison. Where was she supposed to go? And I'm pretty sure the camp was also near the Fire Nation villages. So it was easy for her to do how Team Avatar was doing and dress up as though they were Fire Nation people. For Hama's perspective, I'm pretty sure she called the Fire Nation as like a Jenga tower. When playing Jenga, your goal is to not take a block that will ultimately lead to the tower to fall. In Hama's mind, she was trying to take down all these blocks in order to make the tower to fall. The blocks are the small things that make up the Fire Nation. She probably thought that if I'm taking away these villagers in the Fire Nation who are actually a part of the Fire Nation tower, believing that if she takes away enough blocks, she would ultimately lead to the destruction of the Fire Nation. I'm pretty sure she knew she couldn't use just her force in order to take down this tower. The other elements couldn't really take down the Fire Nation because they were all trying to actively push down the tower. They weren't taking away blocks and pieces like how Team Avatar was doing. But yeah, am I a philosopher? Anyways, but yeah, that's just my theory. I think another reason as to why a lot of people don't like Hama, because I'm pretty sure they were under the assumption that she killed people. I don't think she killed people because there was a whole bunch of people in those camps, so I don't think she killed them. I think she was trying to give them the same treatment that the Fire Nation did to her. It's funny how a lot of people accept Uncle Iroh but don't accept Hama. Uncle Iroh was a full-out war criminal, okay? He killed thousands of people just because of his influence. So for people to still stand with Uncle Iroh but not give the same grace to Hama, when clearly we can see that version of Hama would not exist if she wasn't taken from her home, it's crazy. It's the same with Jet. He was a product of war, a child living in war. A lot of these characters in Avatar, you can't explicitly say that they're a villain. Tell me why Team Avatar still let her get taken away by the Fire Nation and put her right back into the place where she'd survived from. They should have never let the Fire Nation take her back. I feel bad for her, really, especially at an old age. They should have had a different ending for Hama because everyone else was able to get redeemed, but Hama was captured by the Fire Nation yet again. I did not like how they did that because they gave Zuko a chance, they gave Uncle Iroh a chance, but not Hama, the creator of the new bending technique. They put respect on Toph's name, but they couldn't do the same with Hama? Crazy. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this episode. What you guys think about Hama? She's very tragic. Hama was definitely a product of war, and I feel bad for Katara because she was a victim of grooming. I do believe this is episode 6 of Summerween. We're almost done with Summerween. I'm super excited for the next couple of videos. So yeah, stay tuned. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Peekaboo!
For 9 nights, we are celebrating Summerween only on Yapping About Nostalgia.
Summerween? Something about this feels unnatural.
See you again tomorrow for the next episode.